Do you know players in song? No, I don't.
Yes.
Well, we start by presence.
Do you like Shiv information? I can tuck it in a pocket if you want.
Does every day.
I got so much stuff in my pockets right now.
What's that? It's a tear.
I struggled that lost the semester since
So
I got a job.
we see this missing. We
It's like, I'm not even sure I knew her. That's his house. I think they.
I know where you're going.
Comfortable.
Super nerdy guys that are like self-trained, you know, that
Oh.
in college that have the
The evil has some
screens and stuff.
The evil.
evil. The evil
Weird.
evil has some.
It's not like a. Yeah, I got a job. Intern
today
at Spectrum
next
Cable.
Wednesday.
Up there in the tech center. In the office.
It's ready.
He's like, that's not enough money. What is it? I said,
Thumb and forefinger ready to tear. Should I walk you through the lesson? Say amen. Say amen. You don't repeat it. That's your cue to tear. You hold with one hand, no matter which, but hold one hand, the ribbon in place, and with the other hand, just
he
tear.
wants to go to
the
med
cut,
school, right?
tear straight up, slowly, but with enough force that you can tear through it and then stop before you get to that button. Don't pull out, don't pull too vigorously. Just tear it so that it's still all attached.
It does, doesn't it?
Separated into two ties. So it becomes repeat after. Time.
My papa's in the hospital. But I mean, he's holding his own phone. They're putting him speaker to that. You know, for me to sit
These words have to be
When I thought I was gonna go tonight to that game, the 8:30 game,
he misses.
found out that kid has not gone to one basketball. Dude,
share with
every basketball.
He just
Might have
got
been better back then.
Everyone who is serving as a
so
pallbearer,
it's just
if you have been told that you are a pallbearer for the sacred act of carrying the casket to the burial plot, please come forward. 6.
Yeah.
We have a 6. So we have another group to go.
Unless Jay gets you one. I think they have. Yeah.
Sam. Say about it. Trust the eye will save you. Need not fear the terror by night, or the arrows that fly by day, the plague that stalks in the darkness, or the scourges that ravage. They left, there you go. 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 close at hand, but death shall fall short of you. You will see it with your eyes. You will witness the punishment of the wicked because you took Adonai as your haven. No harm will befall you. No disease will touch your tent. For God will order angels to guard you wherever you go. They will carry you in their hands, lest you hurt your foot on stone. You will safely tread on cubs and vipers, fearlessly step on lions and asps. As God has said, I will deliver those devoted to me. Call on me, I will answer. By being there in time of trouble, I rescue them. Satisfy them. Seated. In the words of Ecclesiastes, a season is set for everything, a time for every experience under heaven, a time for dancing and a time for wailing, a time for birthing and a time for dying, a time for speaking, a time for silence, a time for seeking and a time for losing. We gather now at a time for losing, time for speaking, time for remembering. Morning. Thank you all for coming to bid farewell to Ellen Brown. And thank you for welcoming me into this holy and very sad moment. I'm Rabbi Rick Brody, the Baskin Jewish Community Chaplain with Jewish Family Service in Colorado. It's an honor to be here today, as it was also to be at Ellen's bedside hours before she died last Friday, with prayers of peace, comfort, and closure. To now guide Ellen's mourners and all of us gathered through this difficult time. To conduct a ceremony of sacred recollection and joyful remembrance, and to bestow a final act of kindness upon Ellen. Burial. Ellen was born Ellen Friedberg to Ida Jeanette Friedberg and Samuel Charles Friedberg, along with her twin brother Benji, in Denver, Colorado, on February 19th, 1945, 6th of Adar, 5705 on the Hebrew calendar. Ellen and Benji were the third and fourth children in the family. They were a surprise. Entering the world 17 years after oldest brother Donald and around 15 years after brother Alan. Ellen was known as Lolly by those closest to her from childhood throughout her life. And she was known among the Jewish people by the Hebrew name Ita bat Shmuel HaKohen B'chaya Yeter. Ellen died this past Shabbat, in the middle of the night, early Saturday morning, January 13, 2024, the third of Shabbat, 57, in Aurora, Colorado, where she resided since May of last year. Ellen grew up in Denver, in an Orthodox home, attending multiple shuls as part of the West Side Gang, not far from here. She spent summers with an aunt. She graduated from North High School in 1963. She then trained for and became a certified dietitian and worked as a dietitian for Beth Israel Hospital. Later on in life, she worked in the BMH gift shop and as a cook for Denver Public Schools. She also cooked for a nursing home for a time. And she was also the consummate volunteer, as we will hear later about in her eulogies, especially devoting herself through cooking and other forms of volunteerism to many of the synagogues in Denver. She met John Daniel Brown in the kitchen at Beth Israel Hospital. Before she even knew his name, she knew he was hers. The couple got married in the early 1970s. They welcomed their first child, Roseanne Deborah Brown, in 1974. John served in the military and was assigned to a base in Topeka, Kansas. So the young family moved there. In March of 1976, their son Andrew was born. But the rest of that year was filled with unfathomable tragedy. Andrew died from SIDS in July. And then in September, John died on the military base from a gunshot wound to the head. The day he died was when Ellen was planning to tell him that she was pregnant. Ellen persevered for the remainder of her life as a devoted single mother, later a grandmother. Her children came first. She gave her all to them. She moved Rose and herself back to Denver within a few months. And in April of 1974, she gave birth to her second daughter, Johnny Danielle. The family lived first with Uncle Benji and Aunt Susie in Lakewood, and later moved into a tiny apartment house on Linden Court, or on the east side of town, off of Evans and Monaco. When Johnny was around 12 or 13, they moved to a townhouse right near George Washington High School, thanks in large part to the generous support of Uncle Donald. The girls finished their childhoods living in that townhouse, attending George Washington High School. The family was very involved at BMH and also frequented TRI, where Benji and Susie attended. Later on, when Ellen's health declined and she was no longer able to manage stairs, she moved into an apartment at Crestmore Downs. After a few years living there, she eventually moved to Kavod Senior Life, which provided a renaissance for Ellen in terms of connecting and reconnecting with meaningful activities, a sense of purpose, and a community she felt deeply connected to. I'm very glad to welcome my friend and colleague, Rabbi Stephen Booth Nadav, the chaplain at Kavod, who has come here to honor Ellen's memory today. And we are all grateful for that long period of time in which Ellen found so much meaning and joy as part of the Kavod community. She was there until her health problems got more serious and eventually settled into the final residence of her living years at Shalom Park last March. We turn our attention now to Ellen's final resting place, with her time in this world having come to its end, and where her body will be laid to rest in its final resting ground, in this sacred place, where we will show her our care through traditional Jewish burial. And will tell a story of high expectations, love of music and art, conviction, principles, resilience, unconditional love, and a passion for Yiddishkeit, especially Jewish food, and so much more that we'll hear about from those who loved her. Ellen's mourners are Alan Friedberg, her brother, and his children, Brad. I believe they are both here today. And we also acknowledge Alan's other children, Dana and Julie, who are not present. Many of those who are not with us in person are watching the live stream, and we welcome you virtually. We acknowledge Ellen's daughters, her daughter Rose Brown, and Rose's children, Ellen's grandchildren, Mimi, Gerald, Nava, and Naomi. Ellen's daughter, Johnny Drake, her husband, Jonathan Drake, and their son, Ellen's grandson, Robert Drake. We remember Ellen's twin brother, Benji. May his memory be a blessing. He is buried here, also at Golden Hill. We welcome virtually Benji's widow, his wife Susie, who's in Florida, watching the live stream. Benji and Susie's daughter, Rivka Schechter, Ellen's niece, is in Israel. Her nephew, Sam Friedberg, is in Wyoming. And another nephew, Ovadia Friedberg, is in Florida. We also remember Ellen's oldest brother, Donald. May his memory be a blessing. And is Jay here today? Jay Friedberg? We welcome Donald's son, Jay, Ellen's nephew. We acknowledge those who were not blood relatives, but as close in love and connection. Dear, dear friend, like a daughter to Ellen, Stacy Milano, and her husband, Chris. We remember Stacy's mother, Joanne. May her memory be a blessing. Joanne and Ellen were connected at the hip. And we welcome close friends from BMH, Norma and Bob Tolper, Dunya Ravdin, and is Mary here? Mary from Kavod?
not here, but a dear friend from Ellen's time at Kavod, worthy of mention. All of us gathered here today are here to support the next of kin mourners and their families as they fulfill the mitzvah, the sacred obligation to provide a dignified burial for their mother, grandmother, sister, friend. Returning Ellen's body to the earth from which we all come. An act of chesed shel emet, a kindness of pure truth that cannot be repaid by the recipient, the deceased, and is thus performed with complete selflessness and love. So we recognize and thank everyone for coming here today to pay tribute to Ellen's life, to support her mourners this difficult time. We all play a sacred role in the mitzvah of kavod hamet, honoring the deceased, which we will fulfill by speaking kindly about Ellen's life, her joys, her passions, her virtues, and her character, her accomplishments, and her loving devotion to her family, and expressing gratitude for her presence on this earth for her almost 79 years. An additional way to honor Ellen's memory is through the mitzvah of tzedakah, righteous giving, supporting causes dear to Ellen and her family, the American Diabetes Association, Autism Speaks, the Epilepsy Foundation, and the 988 Suicide and Awareness 988 Lifeline. We embrace the memories Ellen crafted for us with relief, knowing that she died peacefully on a Shabbat that provided for her shalom, free of suffering. And we carry the sadness that her journey among the living and her ability to fashion new memories in the present and going forward has come to its end. Yet with the knowledge that her legacy will endure in so many ways, and that her memory will be a blessing. The time of mourning is a complicated time filled with many emotions and memories, both bitter and sweet. We continue our service with the recitation of psalms and prayers, thus linking Ellen's life with the 3,000-year-old tradition of the people Israel and the eternity of God. From Psalm 18. Im chasid hasam, im geratamim titama. With the loyal, you deal loyally. With the blameless, blamelessly. With the pure, you act purely. And with the perverse, you are wily. It is you who deliver lowly folk, but haughty eyes you humble. It is you who light my lamp. Eternal One, my God, lights up my darkness. With you, I can rush a barrier. With my God, I can scale a wall. The way of God is perfect. The word of the eternal is pure. God is a shield to all who seek refuge. Imrat Adonai tzrufa, magen hu lechol hachosim bo. Ellen was a traditional Jewish woman, grew up in an Orthodox home. And the passage from the Proverbs, a woman of valor, is one that spoke to her. I talked with her daughters about the application of this chapter of Proverbs to their mother, and they nodded effusively. Yes. So, Proverbs chapter 31. What a precious find is an Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor. Her worth is far beyond rubies. Her husband puts his confidence in her and lacks no good thing. She is good to him, never bad, all the days of her life. She opens her hands to the needy and extends her hand to the poor. She is clothed with strength and splendor. She looks to the future cheerfully. She opens her mouth with wisdom. Her tongue is guided by kindness. She oversees the activities of her household, never eats the bread of idleness. Her children come forward and bless her. Her husband praises her and says, many women have done superbly, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceitful and beauty vain, but a God-revering woman is much to be praised. Extol her for the fruit of her hand wherever people gather. Her deeds speak her praise. שקר החן והבל היופי, אישה יראת אדוני, תתהלל תנולה מפרי ידיה, והללויה בשערים מעשיה. The 23rd Psalm. I'll start it in English. If you know it, I invite you to join with me. Afterwards, I'll chant it in Hebrew. Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai roi lo echsa, Bihinot deshe yarbitzeni, Al mei menuchot yenahaleni. Nafshi yeshoveh, Nafshi yeshoveh, Yancheni v'maglei tzedek, L'man shemo. Ki eleh b'geit zalma, Lo irara ki ata imadi, Shivtecha umishantecha, Shivtecha umishantecha, Hema yenachamuni, Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan, Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan, Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan, Neged sorera, Dishanta v'shemen roshi, Dishanta v'shemen roshi, Dishanta v'shemen roshi, Kosi revaya, Ach tov v'chesed, Yirdefuni, Kol yemei chayai, V'shavti beveit Adonai, V'shavti beveit Adonai, Le'orech yamim, Yadadai-dai-dai-dai, Yadadai-dai-dai-dai, Yadadai-dai-dai-dai-dai-dai, Yadadadai, Yai-dai-dai-dai, Yai-dai-dai-dai, Yai-dai-dai-dai. We now come to the part of our time when we are going to hear reflections from those who loved Ellen. Leave. We're first going to hear from granddaughter Naomi, and then from Stacy. Also read words written by Rose, and then finally. But did you write something? No. Okay. Well, if there's something else prepared, then then we'll hear it, but we'll start with Naomi.
For how we will forever yearn for the soft sound that your voice was. How I will forever wonder on what planet will our paths cross again. It feels like an eternity of family is falling apart without care. Will forever sting on timeless forever. But when the world is silent and the days are rough, my heart is forever for you. How our souls will It's like cold winter breezes and snowy conditions, and our souls are shattered.
Stacy.
It feels ironic thinking that first she passed away on the Sabbath. Today is the 18th. Ellen was my mom and my family moved out here in 1985. My mother started working at BMH in school. And sometime around that time, she ran into Ellen Brown. Turned into one of the most amazing friendships that turned into family right away. They were always together, and of course, when Ellen wanted to volunteer, my mother wanted to volunteer. I was pulled along. Everywhere that this woman went, everybody knew it was Stacy, Joanne, Ellen, Johnny, and Rose. The hardest part for me was in 2006. I lost my own mother. But Ellen always reassured me, hey, I'm still here for you. And Ellen disclosed to me that as my mom lay dying, my mom asked Ellen to take care of me, baby. Boy, did she ever. But she went above and beyond that for sure. If I needed my mom, I ached for my mom. I felt like I needed to be with my mom. I would call Ellen and she would say, get your butt to my house now. Which, don't say those words, you just listen, you didn't ask questions. So I would go to her house and it was as if my mom's soul lived inside of her. Because I would sit by Ellen and all that loneliness went away. And now I think to myself, what do I do? But I do know that she knows I was there. It was Thursday night. Johnny said, Mommy, it's me and Rose. And Johnny said my name. And even though she was not awake, her eyebrows were and eyebrows and her eyes. It's for me not communication without no words. Sometimes I could be good, sometimes I could be bad. And my fondest memory is parents synagogue every week. It's almost like I had visitation rights because I'd be home at my family during the week, and the weekends my mom let me go at Evan's house. So those were my memories where they all began. That family, since I'd always been the bloodline. I will miss you. You have taught me so much. Like Judaism, you taught me how to be the best Jew I could be alongside my mom. You taught me what it was, what my morals were, what my obligations on the ship were. You're even there. Skipping school. You were right around the corner. You had my plan destroyed and over before it even got out of my brain. I will not say goodbye. I was taught me in this family we never say goodbye. Bobby just got etched in my mind as I hear all the children say, Bobby, I love you. You'll always be in my mind. Please tell my mom I love you. Take care of her. And I will fulfill your promise to you that I will take care of all your grandkids and your daughters just as you did me. Sorry. I almost forgot. I was gonna sing for Ellen, but I'm not going to. I tried and it didn't work. I'm holding back a flood of tears, just thinking about those happy years, like all the good times that are no more. My mom is gone, gone forever, forevermore. Silence so deep, only my soul can hear. Say now the past is what I fear. The future isn't what it used to be. Only today is all that's promised me. Flow on, river of time. Wash away the pain and heal my mind. Carry me away and leave it all far behind. Flow on, river of time. We're all driven by the winds of change. Seems like nothing ever stays the same. It's fate that guides me around the bend. Life's forever beginning, beginning again.
Thank you so much, Stacey.
First of all, I'm not really speaking publicly, so if I'm shaky, I'm sorry. But I wrote a little poem. I call it "I Will Miss You." I will miss kissing your forehead. I will miss holding your hand. I will miss singing to you. I will miss your silly phrases. I will miss the delightful smell of yucca in your apartment. I will miss your smile. I will miss your warm hugs. I will miss watching hockey games with you and yelling at the TV. I will miss hearing my children ask if we could go to movies. I will miss how you would light up a room. I will miss watching my children help you in the kitchen. I will miss you being here. My heart is aching from how much I've learned to miss you. When I was a little girl, I used to stay up when you went out. Not because I was trying to stay up late, but because I was afraid that I was going to leave you with my grandma's dad. And the moment you were gone, I feel so lost and afraid what my world is going to be without you in it. However, every night when I look at the sky and see the stars, they remind me of your kind eyes, and hopefully that will bring me some peace. I love you. To miss you.
Johnny?
Okay, so here's hoping that this doesn't fly away. Ellen was passionate about family above all else. You could express it in the food she made. If there was a Jewish dish, Mom knew how to make it. When she would try a new recipe, she would only follow it once and then make it her way, or she would say, make it my own, every time after. The problem with that was, most of the recipes she created, she would write down. And she never made them the same way twice. The recipes she did write down, even if you followed them perfectly, you could not recreate what she had mastered. It would never taste as good as hers. had dishes and glasses that we only used for Passover stored downstairs. Rose and I would unbox the Passover dishes and box up the regular dishes. We used heavy-duty foil and duct tape to cover the counters and cabinets because even though it was kosher, it wasn't kosher enough for her. I was afraid to touch anything because I was terrified of either breaking a dish or mixing up her dishes, like using a milk plate instead of a meat plate. I did it once, and just her mom look was enough to tell you you really messed up. I never wanted to do that again, so I would get something already made in the fridge, even if I hated it, and ate it on a paper towel with my fingers, and I can't stand to get my hands dirty. It became a big joke over the years, up until she could no longer continue with the tradition. By then, Rose and I were starting families of our own. I would give the kids plastic utensils and knew what plates to use to feed them. But I would still use paper towel and my hands. I had done it for so long, I couldn't eat Pesach snacks any other way. Dinner was the highlight of my day. Mom, Rose, and I ate dinner at the table every night, and we would talk about our day. I loved the bonding time we had together, but I didn't realize how important that time really was until I had a family of my own. I want to thank Mom for this because it created a habit that was continued with both my family and with Rose. And it's made our bond and our love even stronger. I honestly used to hate Mom's cooking growing up, but now I think I'm gonna miss that the most of all. She has a way to make food taste like love. Mom would find a way to feed your heart and soul, not just your mouth and stomach. We're really good at this.
We are a people of history. Ellen's daughters shared with me that one wish that Ellen had that didn't come to fruition in her life was that she really wanted to be a history teacher. Other than that, we talked about how she lived accepting life on life's terms, significant tragedy, missing her beloved John the rest of her life. She persevered, and she modeled what it meant to love our people, to love people, to care for others, to stand up for what you believe in, and to pass on wisdom to her children. She was a teacher, and she imparted to her children knowledge of so many ideas and facts and concepts and ways of living, including history, the history of our people, expressed perhaps most significantly through her cooking, especially by making holiday-specific foods. Stacy mentioned that she'd be in Ellen's home. She would smell what was cooking, and it could tell her what time of year it was and what holiday was coming up. We live a rhythm of the Jewish year with different foods, different smells and tastes that connect to our past. Johnny talked in such detail about the connection to Passover, which is probably the part of our observance throughout the year that is most deeply connected to history. is the story, the memory of our people's move from slavery to freedom, from degradation to dignity. It is the beginning of our history as a nation, as a people. One family winds up in Egypt and grows into clans, and then suddenly they're known as Bnei Israel, the Israelites. But it is through the Exodus that they solidify as a people. And it's very fitting as we're hearing about Passover, thinking about history. Well, here we are in January. We're not close to Passover, but in the annual cycle of the Torah readings, this week is Parshat Bo, the third Torah portion in the book of Exodus. It is in this week's Torah reading that Pharaoh lets the Israelites go, that they conduct the very first Pesach. Blood on the doorpost. They are spared from the 10th plague. Pharaoh lets them go. They begin their journey to freedom. That's history. We celebrated at Passover. Ellen's life was one of picking herself back up and going from degradation to dignity, from enslavement to freedom, finding new ways for herself and for her children for whom she advocated and for the wider world to have more freedom, more dignity. Life is a continual exodus from Egypt. And we as a people, we remember our ancestors who demonstrated, not necessarily through formal teaching in a classroom, but through living. They demonstrated their commitment to be the beginning generation of this people. They had a task. They needed to do the Pesach offering. They needed to put the blood on the doorpost, and they needed to eat the foods that ultimately became part of the Passover Seder. It's all happening in this week's Torah portion. That observance and its connection to our people captures so much of what was important to Ellen, how she lived, the commitments that she made. Her belief in overcoming adversity was expressed through what her children shared with me was this idea of watch me. You don't think that I'm going to recover from my broken back in my 20s? You don't think I'm going to recover and persevere through a diagnosis of diabetes early on in life? I'm going to take care of myself. Watch me. She overcame that adversity. And sometimes, some of the middle decades of her life, it got harder. Life is hard. You already have certain ailments. Regimen of self-care can be difficult, and that set Ellen back some. Later in life, as I mentioned earlier, especially with her time at Kavod, she re-engaged with Kavod, with honor, with dignity, and grasped once again the joy that came with being part of a community, of volunteering, of celebrating. These were the staples of living a good and meaningful life. She taught her children to live with kindness, to be true to yourself. She taught them unconditional love. They reflected on the idea that she might tell them, I might not like you right now, but no matter what, I'm always going to love you. And she loved her teams. Hockey, football. She get passionate about them and sometimes even throw the remote at the TV. So they had to get her like a cushioned referee that she could pull the different parts off and throw that. We heard about funny words. One was she would call her the remote. I mean, we already reduced it right from the remote control device to just say remote. She would call it the boat. And daughters also laughed at how she would refer to the company Verizon as Horizon. Well, we look to the horizon. Sun sets at the horizon, and then the sun rises again. We come to the setting, sunset of life, a life that was suffused with love, with good food, and with so many life lessons that will endure. And when we think about the rising again at the horizon, we know that Ellen will live on as memories rise up in all those who knew her and loved her, and that whatever lies beyond on the other side, may it be reunion with dear friends and other loved ones, we know that Ellen will rest in peace and that her memory will be a blessing. We are now ready for the lowering of the casket as we prepare to bestow our final kindness upon Ellen. Al Makoma Tavo v'Shalom. May Ellen go unto God in peace. Sur Tamim, the perfect rock, whose work we perceive, reveals a faithful God, true, upright, and honest. The rock is perfect in every way. Dare we ask God to account for any deed? Hashalit v'mata u'mata. God rules below and on high. Cause of death, Malid Shapol v'yatmo, bringing down to the grave, but raising up the slain. Sur Tamim, the rock is inscrutable. Dare we question Mata Aseh, what have you done? When God's every word comes to be immediately. Hatzor Tamim, the rock is unfathomable, but just and patient and malei rachamim, filled with compassion. God, have pity for parents and children. Ki lecha adon haslichot v'harachamim. His forgiveness and compassion are yours. You are just, Adonai, in the giving and in the taking. In your hands is pikdon kol ruchot, the essence of all spirit. You would never permit the impact we made to fade. So consider us keenly. Ki lecha adon harachamim v'haslichot, for you are the master of compassion and forgiveness. Adam, im ben shana yehiyeh, you're immortal to live but a single year, or even 1,000. Kalo haya yehiyeh, it would not seem enough. Baruch Dayan Ha'emet, we therefore praise the judge of truth who takes, but who also gives life. We know, Adonai, that your discretion is beyond us. We know, Adonai, that your word is good, but your judgments at times puzzle us. And though we may brood over harsh realities, Tzadikata, we place our trust in your righteousness. We accept our lot, loss, and the love that remains with us forever. Achem al plitat tzon yadecha, have mercy upon us and strengthen us to maintain our courage at this time of sorrow. Adonai Natan, the Eternal has given. Adonai lakach, and the Eternal has taken. Yehi Shem Adonai, the name. We are now ready to have Ellen's immediate mourners come forward. We place earth on top of the casket. I like to think of with the minerals that are the building blocks of life. The earth from which we come and to which we return is a warm blanket that we lay upon Ellen as a way of tucking her in to this final resting place. We do it with love. We do so by holding the shovel in a different fashion. We flip it upside down. Now it's a little bit of earth for the first offering of earth. It requires a little slower movement, signifies our hesitation and the fact that we are not engaging in the regular act of shoveling, but engaging in a sacred act. One time holding it upside down, offer a bit of earth, and then turning the shovel, regular fashion, 2 more scoops of earth that we drop onto the casket. Each mourner will have the opportunity to do what I've just described. We start by picking up the shovel from the mound of earth. We do the 3 times, and then we return the shovel to the earth so that the next person can pick it up and engage in the entire ritual from start to finish. We can have people come on either side, immediate family mourners on either side, and when they have finished, we'll invite everyone else present who wishes to do so to come through lines on either side and to each have a turn with the ritual of shoveling. After which those who are able to help, we will make sure that the casket is entirely covered. Else who wishes, with immediate family is the chairs. Lines on either side. There are multiple shovels on either side. Each do our part. Completely covered the casket. Cemetery crew will fill in the rest of the plot. We're finished. Let's all return to our seats. Our final prayers. We are about to mark the conclusion of our kindness towards Ellen. We've done that physically by treating her body with kindness and care. It is now fully covered in the earth where it will rest in peace. And we now turn our attention to Ellen's soul, which will live on in so many ways. And we pray for it to have a safe journey and for the eternal source of compassion, El Malay Rachamim, God, to guide her, to protect her soul eternally. Yashov ha'afar al ha'aretz kasheya, v'haruach tashuv el ha'elohim asher netana. The dust returns to the earth as it was, but the spirit returns to God who gave it. May Ellen's soul be bound up in the bond of life eternal. We now rise for El Malay Rachamim. Malay Rachamim. שוכן במרומי, המצא מנוחה נכונה, תחת כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטובים, כזוהר רקיע מזהירים, את נשמת איתה בת שמואל הכהן וחיה יתר, שהלכה לעולם. אנא בעל הרחמים, הסתיריה בסתר כנפיך לעולמי, וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתה, ונחלתה ותנוח בשלום על משכבה נאמר Amen. El Malay Rachamim, exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Ellen Brown, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our beloved Ellen find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. May she rest in peace. And let us say, be seated. Eternal One, send comfort to those who mourn, grant strength to those whose burden is sorrow. We turn our attention now to our mourners. Our primary obligation and focus up until this moment was about laying Ellen to rest and to speaking of her, giving her this final act of kindness. We have now completed that act, and it is at this moment that her mourners officially become mourners. And they begin that journey of mourning. Before even taking a step forward as mourners, in a moment they will take a step simply rising to recite the Kaddish, the mourner's Kaddish, the ancient Aramaic expression of the greatness of God as the source of life and the source of peace. The reciting of Kaddish is a way of a community coming together. It needs a community to be said. And it's our way of supporting the mourners because our focus now is on consoling and comforting the bereaved. And they say Kaddish as a reminder of the endurance of life, the reminder that God is with them, carrying them forward to live and to carry on Ellen's memory, and as a source of strength and support in their time of sorrow. We also think about the Kaddish as fulfilling a spiritual role in propelling Ellen's soul on its journey. So we begin the journey of mourning by rising. Mourners, please rise. The rest of us, we rise in solidarity to support the mourners. We will have the places where we say Amen and join in. I invite you to do so as the mourners recite Kaddish Yatom. Mourners, it's Gadal, it's Gadash, Shemay Rabbi. Amen. Hey, Shemay Rabban Bevarach Le'olam Olamei Almaya. Yaseh shalom b'mamav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. May the one who makes it peaceful in the heights make it peaceful upon us, upon all the people of Israel, and upon all who dwell on earth. And we say, Amen. Seated. Say shalom b'mamav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Imru, amen. Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Imru, amen. In a moment, we will depart from this sacred place. We have fulfilled our obligation. We have turned our attention already to our mourners. And as we depart from here, what we will do is all of us who are not mourners, we're going to form two lines stretching straight back towards the road. Two lines facing each other, creating an aisle, a gauntlet. This is the space, the safe passage that we create for the mourners to walk through as we surround them with walls of love and comfort. It's a choreographed hug. As they walk through, we will recite the traditional words of comfort. Hamakom yenachem etchem b'toch sha'ar avelei Zion Yerushalayim. I'll prompt you word by word. You don't need to memorize it, but I'll tell you what it means. Hamakom is a special nickname for God. It means the place, because we want to be able to find God in the place where we are. And as we leave this place where God's presence is felt, we want God's presence to be in the place where our mourners head as they begin their journey of mourning. May that place be a place of comfort for them. So we ask that Hamakom, that God, as a source of comfort, grant comfort to you, say, comfort to you along with the remnant of those who mourn for Zion and Jerusalem on so many sacred gatherings of the Jewish people in life cycle events and holidays. We remember, as we do at Pesach, that we moved as a people from slavery to freedom. And we remember our wish to return to Jerusalem. We say next year in Jerusalem and in many of those occasions. Here, we say it a little differently. We say that your loss joins the losses of all the history of Jewish people, including the losses we have felt as a nation. It is that severe to lose a loved one. It is as though Jerusalem has been destroyed. But we remember that God comforted our people after those calamities, and we rose up to life anew. And God will be with our mourners and help them rise again to life anew. So, we have our lines formed. Mourners, please rise. Ready? Walk through. Comforters, repeat after me. Hamakom, Yenachem, Etchem, B'toch, Sha'ar, Avelei, Zion, Yerushalayim, Hamakom, Yenachem, Etchem, B'toch, Sha'ar, Avelei, Zion, Yerushalayim. May the ever-present source of comfort grant comfort to you, along with the remnant of those who mourn for Zion and Jerusalem. I was paying attention to this. They said